What's going on, guys? What's going on, Task Lab? What's going on, everybody? So, Chris Paul has said this will be his last year in the NBA at 40 years old. And I do think that Chris Paul will get a tour, will get an NBA tour, farewell tour, this season. I honestly think that it being Chris Paul's last year in the NBA, he's going to get a tour. He's definitely going to get a Chris Paul tour where we see Chris Paul go out every game and give it his last. Because when we talk about Chris Paul, when we bring up Chris Paul, we bring up John Stockton. We bring up um different point guards that we have seen played. Like a Gary Payton. Like a Magic Johnson. Like a Jason Kidd. Like when we bring up those point guards, we have to say that Chris Paul is in that conversation with those point guards because he's going to be a first Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. But when we say that Chris Paul signing back with the Clippers, going back to the Clippers, wanted to be a Clipper, I think that Chris Paul definitely did not want to leave the Clippers. I think this is going to be what we're going to see is probably now at the end of players' careers. We're probably going to see players go back to teams that they got drafted to in their career there or in their career with a different NBA team. Because we've seen players like Carmelo Anthony retire. We've seen players like Vince Carter retire. Chris Bosh. We've seen players like that retire. But we haven't seen a player go back to a team that he had more success with in the playoffs. Like, he had more success with Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. In my opinion, that team should have won a championship. And if that trade to the Lakers for Chris Paul wasn't ever vetoed or wasn't ever vetoed back when the great Kobe Bryant was in the NBA, I would say Kobe would have probably 6 rings and Chris Paul would have probably 1 or 2. But that's a different story for another day. But when we look at how Chris Paul's career and look how he's going to lead the game of basketball, Chris Paul, in my opinion, I think has to be the greatest point guard ever. He just has to be because we've seen great point guards play the point guard position in the NBA, and everybody's going to have their favorite point guard. Like, people are going to say, some will say Steph Curry is the better point guard. Kyrie is the better point guard. Westbrook, Ja. Like, the list is just going to go on and on there. But when we say that Chris Paul is probably going to get a farewell tour, a farewell season, tour, whatever you want to call it at this point. I'm going to say this, is that with Chris Paul going out, we're all going to miss Chris Paul, just like we're all going to miss Chris Paul, just like we miss Shaq, Kobe Bryant, Penny Hardaway, Gary Payton. Like, anybody can say that anybody's going to miss their favorite player once they retire. And I'm going to say that because when we see players retire, we miss them. We're going to miss them. And it's not a fact that with this, that certain players in the NBA, like a Anthony Edwards, like a Kevin Durant, like a Steph Curry, like a LeBron James, those players are going to be missed once their career is done. Because with that said, it's more like we have to give credit to Chris Paul for what he did in the NBA. Because what Chris Paul has done in the NBA has made All-Star appearance, has made the playoffs, has made the NBA Finals in his career. Like, if we could say that this Clippers team with Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul, a big three, that's a big three. But we could also say that can this big three, can this new look team for the Clippers that is the oldest team in the NBA right now, can this team win a championship? And honestly, like, yeah, you could say that this Clippers team will have a chance because Kawhi last year played over 62 to 52 games. You have James Harden still, who Chris Paul played with on the Rockets. Like, those Rockets teams, I think, with Chris Paul and James Harden, could have made the finals that 1 year and could make the championship 1 year. But what I'm basically saying is that we are going to miss Chris Paul, no doubt, when he retires, because we're probably not going to see another point guard like a Chris Paul, like a Gary Payton, like a Magic Johnson for the next 10 to 15 years in the NBA. Like, we're probably not going to see that. And we just have to be grateful that these NBA players like LeBron James, like Russell Westbrook, like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul are still around, but they won't be around forever. We won't be able to see LeBron play forever. We won't be able to see Steph play forever. We won't see Kevin Durant play forever in the NBA or Chris Paul. Like, these guys are going to have to retire. And once they retire, we're going to say we missed them. We missed them, most certainly. But at the same time, we just have to be grateful that this is Chris Paul's last dance last year in the NBA, because at the end of the day, we can look back at Chris Paul's career after this year or so and say Chris Paul has had an amazing career. That is what we can say at that point. But with that said, we don't know how Chris Paul is going to do. Like, Chris Paul scored 28 points a game in his career, but he is an 8-and-8 point guard that can give you 8 points, 12 assists. Like, he has had amazing careers. But guys, sub if you're new and never give up your dreams. And I hope all of you guys are safe out there. And stay blessed, everybody. And peace.